Volume 2. It's Genesis 9:26. And he said, a blessing on Jehovah, God of Shem, and Canaan will be slave to him. A blessing on Shem's Jehovah means that everything good comes to those who worship the Lord from deep inside. Shem is the inner church, and Canaan will be slave to him means that the type of individual who identifies identifies yeah identifies well identifies worship exclusively with the outward show of it is among those who are able to serve people of the church in lovely ways. Lovely. Lovely. Yeah, it's not lovely, it's lovely. The church in lowly ways. It's about low. Low. The fact that a blessing of Shem's Jehovah means that everything good comes to those who worship the Lord from deep inside can be seen from the symbolism of being blessed. Blessed. A blessing involves every heavenly and spiritual kind of benefit and every earthly kind as well. These are what a blessing symbolizes in an inner sense. In a shallower sense, shallower. It's like small, shallower. In a shallower sense, it symbolizes every temporal, personal, and worldly kind of benefit. But if these are to be true blessings, they have to stem from an inner blessing. Only an inner blessing really is a blessing because it is eternal and carries with it a full range of happiness. Range. Full. It's like maybe spectrum like this. Spectrum. A full range of happiness. An inner blessing is the essential reality of any blessing. Because what else genuinely exists besides that is eternal. Everything else that exists ceases to exist. A blessing on Jehovah was a common phrase among the ancients, and by it they meant that all blessings, everything good, and in other words, came from him. It was also a standard way to thank the Lord for his benefits in past and present. The phrase occurs in David, for instance, in Psalms and in other authors. The exact wording in this verse is a blessing on Jehovah God because it has to do with Shem, or the inner church. This church is called an inner one because of its charity. Charity holds within it the presence of the Lord, who is accordingly called Jehovah God here. It is not so in the outer church. In this church, the Lord admittedly is present, but not the same way as he is with the people of the inner church. Those who belong to the outer church, you see, still believe that they do the good deeds of charity under their own power, and as a result, the Lord is called God when they are the people being spoken of. The next verse, for example, which talks about Japheth says, "May God broaden Japheth." What is this? Broaden?
Broaden.
It's like broad. It's like expand, spread. May God broaden Japheth. The fact that everything good comes to those who worship the Lord from deep inside can also be inherited from the pattern of things. This is the pattern. The Lord is the source of all heavenly traits. Heavenly traits, like aspects, yeah.
Traits.
Character trait, feature. Source of all heavenly traits, because all heavenly traits are the source of all spiritual traits, and spiritual traits are the source of all earthly traits. This pattern governs the emergence of all things. Emergence.
Emergence.
It's like manifestation, manifestation. Governs the emergence of all things, and it sets the pattern by which those things flow into us. The heavenly element is love for the Lord and for our neighbor. Where love does not exist, the link is broken and the Lord is not present, since he enters into us only through what is heavenly, that is, through love. When there is no heavenly element, no spiritual element is possible either. Because everything spiritual comes from the Lord by way of something heavenly. The spiritual element is faith, so faith is impossible unless it comes from the Lord by way of charity or love. The same is true of the earthly element. Everything good flows in according to the same pattern, from which it follows that those who receive it are those who worship the Lord from deep inside, or in other words, from charity. It also follows that people who do not worship Him in charity do not receive anything good, but the kind of things that merely imitate goodness and are essentially evil. An example is the thrill of hatred. Thrill.
Thrill.
Thrill, like sharp sensation. It tremble is the thrill of hatred and adultery, which viewed in itself is no more than a delight in excrement, and this is what it turns into in the other life. Excrement or excrement.
Excrement.
Excrement. Canaan will be slave to him means that the type of individual who identifies worship exclusively with the outward show of it is among those who are who are able to serve people of the church in lowly ways. This can be best. This can best be. This can best be seen. Can best be seen from the things that people in the Jewish church represented. In the Jewish church, Judah and Israel represented the inner church. Judah represented a heavenly church, Israel a spiritual one, Jacob the outer church, but people who identified mhm. but people who identified worship exclusively with the outward mhm, show of it, but people who identified worship exclusively with the outward show of it were represented by non-Jews, whom they called foreigners. Foreigners. These were their slaves who performed menial tasks, min, menial,
Menial.
menial, like servant, who performed menial tasks in the church. In Isaiah, for example, strangers will stand and pasture your flock, and the children of a foreigner will be your farmers and your vine dressers. Vine dressers. Not vine dressers, but wine dressers, I think, like gardeners.
Vine dressers.
Yeah, wine dressers. And you will be called Jehovah's priests, attendants of our God. It will be said to you,
How are you?
the wealth of the Gentile nations you will eat. And
Swedenborg.
yeah,
How are you?
hello, I'm good, and you?
Yeah, I'm very good. What is the book?
It's a Secrets of Heaven. It's
It's the same book. You don't finish?
but it's volume two. I finished volume one, and this is volume two. Secrets of
It's the
Heaven.
second part, yeah. Uh,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
okay.
Are you ready to read?
No, not right now.
Why
A little
not?
bit later. A little bit later.
Okay. But I cannot recognize your avatar. Maybe mm, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear.
Yeah. Maybe you can take any picture for your avatar, so
Yeah,
I
my
can
yeah.
recognize you because yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think you can recognize my voice. You don't need to know my picture and another.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think picture is better maybe because if I see a picture, I can understand your state of mind because
Mhm.
picture represents our
Mm,
state of mind. Yeah, because
maybe.
a picture has very important meaning, spiritual
Yeah.
meaning.
For example, in your picture, profile picture is Swedenborg, yeah?
Yeah,
Uh,
because I don't represent myself, but I represent him because I am reading his books and I represent his teaching, his doctrine. But
mm,
if you will take your picture, your picture
mhm,
will represent your teaching and your doctrine.
mhm, mhm. No, I think you should show your picture because you just copy Swedenborg teachings. You should show your individual soul, you know.
Yeah, because his teaching became my teaching because
Mm.
it's like
No,
he
I
replaced.
don't think. I don't
Mhm.
think 100% you have the same. No. You just signed his teaching, his knowledge, but you are not the same like him.
But I like it, and if I like it, I want to correspond to his teaching because I like his understanding and I like his point of view, and I want to be so wise like he is. I want to have the same wisdom. That because I want to correspond to his doctrine. That because I use his avatar, and maybe. Actually, it's my faith, it's my belief, it's my life.
Yeah.
Because, for
I
example,
have-
if I like teaching of Jesus Christ, if I love his words, if I understand his teaching, I want to be like him, like he is, because I want to correspond to him. That because I can use avatar of Jesus Christ, for example, but actually here I'm reading books of Swedenborg because I use his avatar. So people can understand me better who I am, and if I will see your picture, I can understand you better who you are, and you can be more recognizable when you speak because yeah, maybe two people will speak at the same time, and I cannot recognize you because someone can use the same avatar like this. But if you have your own
yeah.
avatar, I will see that it is you
Yeah.
who is talking to me.
And I want to say that I'm firstly saw this person who every time, every day, what I come into the Discord and every time see how you at 6 or no, yeah, every time in one time you come into the and open translation. How you like this? You don't have, I don't know how to say, another hobbies. You every time, every day in this time came and open translation. I don't know how. For example, I don't
Because
do this.
I have free time in this time, and every day I at it in at it that time at this time I can do this translation like this because actually I want to I I want to read all his books because I should do it here. Actually, it's my life. I like it. I'm enjoying by reading his books, and I'm enjoying by learning English from his books. Actually, when and I will finish reading his books, I will read another my favorite books. Maybe yeah, if 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 it if it will be possible to me. I mean,
And I noticed,
if I will have free time, yeah.
that your English became very cool, and your skill is will be high. I think if you continue every day, open translation and read every day. Yeah. How you have?
Yeah.
I don't know. Uh, how the motivation every day? For example, I don't have so much uh, force to do this. For
I
example,
because
one day I read, but the next time I don't want to read. After 1 month, I forgot about all of this, and that's all.
if you like to eat something delicious food and if you like it you do it, yeah. you
Yeah.
if you like to watch any movie like any film and it is your favorite movie like favorite film you do it, you do your best like this, and
Yeah.
if you like it, and I do my best because I like it, I love it.
Now
Like,
from
it's easy.
eating and from watching TV, from watching movie, I have pleasure. From reading book, I don't have pleasure. I don't get pleasure from this. You know.
Maybe you don't understand that it is useful for you because I have pleasure if I understand it is useful for me. because I have benefit um, from it. Like I understand, because pleasure depends from understanding. Because if I understand that it is useful for me, it is good for me, it means I like it and I want to do it. Yeah. For example, if you if you if you understand that if you will learn anything better, you will be more successful in your life, and if you understand that it is useful for you, it means you want to do it. Yeah, but because you understand that it is useful for you, it's not difficult actually.
Swedenborg, for example, you have bad times, yeah, in your life. What are you doing? You are don't will be sad and another thing. How you I don't know, fight with this?
Mm. I don't know. I don't have free time actually. I
Oh, for
have only free
example,
time in this
work
time.
you have. For example, at work you have I don't know some argue with somebody or somebody argue to you. What are you doing? You just don't care about this or what?
Mm. I don't like to talk about myself, about my earthly life,
Mm. No, it's
because
not. It's like it's just I want to know how in this life you should I don't know справляться с этим. You know. In
mm,
this book, yeah, I know this book maybe help. I don't know.
of course, 2 hours. I read books of Swedenborg 2 hours a day, 2 or 3 hours a day. It's not so
Mhm.
difficult for me because
Yeah, no.
I like
Oh,
it.
I
Yeah.
think you four. I think you yeah 4 hours. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
4 hours you sit every day. Uh, you are pro in the new year. You sit. Open the translation. 31st
Say,
December.
uh, sorry, I didn't understand.
You open translation on the 31st December.
I started reading books of Swedenborg maybe 4 months ago, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, maybe. Yeah, I don't remember when I started to read books of Swedenborg. Maybe 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. After the finishing all Swedenborg books, you are what are you doing? You start to read another books, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember. I was showing you this book. I want to read, The Last Temptation of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's like this book is like books of Swedenborg too, but actually it's like it's about practical application books of Swedenborg, because books of Swedenborg are like doctrine about understanding of God's plan, but this book like about practical deeds we can do to build the kingdom of heaven on earth, like the kingdom of God on earth, as it is in heaven. Because Jesus, Jesus commanded us to pray about His kingdom, about coming His kingdom to earth, and we can build this kingdom of heaven on earth as it is in heaven. Because it's like, and this book is like about practical plan. How can we do it? That because I want to read this book after reading books of Swedenborg. It's a very beautiful book, but maybe it's more difficult to read because there are a lot of new words for me. Like this. Okay, we can continue.
Yeah, my internet disconnects.
Okay, so we can continue, yeah, our reading.
Yeah. Yeah.
And are you ready to read to or later?
No, a little bit later.
Okay. Heavenly kinds. Yeah, because we should understand why do we need to know about this doctrine. It's like because it's not like about only information, yeah, but it's like about how to say, it's about meaning of life. Do you understand what is the meaning of life, sense of life, like this meaning?
A meaning of life.
Yeah, like смысл жизни.
Yeah,
Meaning
yeah.
of life. Yeah.
Maybe 1 year ago, I think that the meaning of the life is to get pleasure of this life. But right now, I know that the meaning of this life to have knowledge, to get from this life experience. Uh, I don't know what to
Mhm.
say. And
And
what do you think? What do you think the meaning of this life?
the meaning of life is, as for me, the meaning of life is to create a new ideal, like to create an ideal, just society in the world. It's about how can we make the world a better place? How can
Yeah, of
we
course.
improve
Yeah,
this
of
world?
course.
Because I want to be
Mm-hmm.
useful for this world. That because
Mm-hmm.
I ask myself, what are you doing here in this world? What is my plan? What is my goal? What is my meaning of life? And I want to know God's plan for me because I understand that God has His plan for me. And from books of Sweden and from books of Swedenborg, I understand God's plan better because I understand the meaning of life from books of Swedenborg, and it's like my plan because Swedenborg tries to explain us what should we do to make the world a better place, to change the world, and actually it's about building perfect society, like ideal just society, and Jesus Christ wanted that, and I wanted
Mhm.
that because
Yeah, of
if it
course.
was, I think it is
Mhm.
possible for us to do it.
Yeah,
It's like my
possible, but
opinion.
negative, aggressive, and another person say will be every time. So we should fight with them. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Have you heard the song of John Lennon, Imagine? Have you heard?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I
Do,
think. I
do,
think I
do,
listen.
do you understand the meaning of that song? Imagine
Uh, the song
you
was
can
in Forsage.
imagine. You can type imagine
Okay.
lyrics, imagine John Lennon lyrics, and
Imagine.
try,
Okay.
and maybe you can try to understand
Maybe
his
you
point
right
of
now
view.
open on
Mhm.
your translation.
To open translation of John Lennon lyrics, yeah, we can read.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can read if you want. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
One second, and maybe you can say what you mean because it's about books of Swedenborg too. Actually, and Shakira, singer Shakira, sang.
Yeah, Latin America. Mhm.
Yeah, she sang the song uh, in United Nation Assembly. It
Mhm.
means that this song is very important song because um,
Mhm.
a lot of nations and people want the same thing.
Mhm.
Uh, mm, ima- imagine.
No, imagine GG, not J.
Yeah. Imagine John Lennon.
John Lennon. Yeah.
John
You
Lennon.
interested in politics, Russian and Ukraine politics? Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, you can see this song.
Mhm.
Imagine
Imagine that there no heaven. It's easy
there is.
if you
Yeah,
try.
there is. There is no heaven. Like there is. Yeah, imagine there is
Mhm.
no heaven. Like
There is no
imagine.
heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there is no countries. It isn't hard
Yeah.
to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You. You may say I'm dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of men. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us and the world will live as one. Yeah, I understand the meaning. He just wants to say that we create peace and paradise in our life by ourselves.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because they see the first, if you, it's about building an ideal just society. Yeah, and if you want, and do you see he means, you may say I am a dreamer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who is a dreamer? Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
мечтатель.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not the only one. You see, it's
Mm-hmm.
very famous song of John Lennon, and a lot of people are agree with him. And he says, "But I'm not the only one." You see, it means that we are many. There are
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people who dream about the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It means that this idea is is demanded, like demanded, like people want to have that,
Mm-hmm.
but it means if people dream about it, we can be united with them because we too
Mm-hmm.
want the same thing. And you see,
Mm-hmm.
imagine all the people sharing all the world. Yeah, we can understand. For example, first, if you read first sentence,
Mm-hmm.
imagine there is no heaven. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of Christians are against this song of John Lennon because they understand it in literal sense. Because they can say this song is against God, but it's not against God. The first we need to imagine it, because it's about mind. Imagine there is no heaven. Yeah, because we believe in heaven, and we understand that if we will be in heaven, we will be happy because heaven is a paradise, is the paradise.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, imagine there is no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Okay, he means imagine that it doesn't heaven doesn't exist, and imagine all the people living for today.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we understand that it is our responsibility to make the world a better place for us because only we can do it. And he says, imagine there
Mm-hmm.
is no countries. What do you think? Is it good if there is no countries? What can you
Yeah,
say?
I think it's should be better because if all not we don't делились делились to the countries, yeah, I think will be peace in this world. We don't fight by territory and another things. Modern countries they are fight by the oil, by treasure, but by territory and another things. I think it's not um, right because
Yeah.
we in this life it's this life, not, как сказать, вечная, this life, которая здесь имеется в виду. So, если бы, if we have, for example, not piece of territory, yeah, if we have all Earth, it's our territory, I think will be peaceful than right now.
Yeah, because if we have countries in the world, we have borders. Yeah, and it's not. It means we have no freedom. Yeah, because we are citizen of this world. But if we have borders and countries, it means we are not free. Yeah, because of borders. And but the first we can imagine that. Imagine there is no countries, and you can say, "Oh, I can imagine it," and it means if you can imagine it, it means your mind can be exalted on the planet Earth, and you can understand that that is better to if there is no countries. Yeah, and people understand it. And it's about future because we cannot we cannot build God's kingdom on earth in our minds. We can imagine that, and this is the first step. The first we need to imagine it, and after it we can do it because he says it is the first you need to imagine that it isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. Yeah, do you see? If there is no conscience, it's nothing to kill or die for, and no religion to. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Can you imagine it? Yeah, we can imagine it. And he says, "You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one." And if a lot of people and nations dream about the same thing, maybe we can unite people by this idea because it's like a main dream of people. Yeah, because maybe greedy people don't want to have the planet Earth without countries. Yeah, because greedy people want to have countries like this and borders. Yeah, because they're greedy. But in this sense, and you see, he says, but I am not the only one. I hope someday you will join us." You see, and it means it's like a movement. And he says, "I hope someday you will join us, and maybe you will join us too, because I am one of them too. I dream about the same thing. It means we are many, and if you dream about the same thing, you can join us too." and and the world will be as one. Do you see? It's like the world we will be as one. And imagine, can you imagine no possessions? How do you understand it? Imagine no possessions.
Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can.
Yeah, do you understand what does it mean? Imagine no possessions. It's like imagine no money.
Possessions.
Imagine
I don't
no.
understand.
Imagine no money. Imagine no частной собственности, права собственности. Like,
Yeah.
because the planet, who is the owner of the planet Earth? It's God. Yeah, if you believe in God, we understand that the planet Earth belongs to everyone. The planet Earth belongs to everybody, and we can say the planet Earth is in common possession. But people have possessions on Earth, and it means they are like gods. And he can say it's my possession. But if you are born in Africa, for example, you cannot have possession on this earth, but God loves everyone, and our earth is in common possession. It means the resources of the planet Earth belongs to everybody. And we can say, it's like no possessions, like no частной собственности, like in the sense, and money. And we can imagine how angels live in heaven, for example. Do angels have money? Do angels have possession, like частную собственность? No, they have everything in common. And he means about it. Imagine. The first you need to imagine it. Is it possible to build an ideal just society on the planet Earth with no possessions? Is it possible for us? And he says, I am not the only one. And if people dream about the same thing, it means we can be united with them and we can create any big movement. And he said that because Shakira sang this song on United
Song.
Nation song United Nation Assembly, it means a lot of nations and peoples dream about the same thing, and we can be united with them. Actually,
Yeah, of course. I think Swedenborg, I have idea. Maybe you should open maybe courses. I don't know, in Instagram, like Swedenborg Emmanuel courses. I think you have big followers if you start to develop this idea in the internet, you know.
yeah, I
And
know
a
it.
lot of people started thinking before doing something bad.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Yeah, but that because I'm reading books of Swedenborg, because I want to understand this doctrine better, because it's about the same thing.
Yeah,
Swedenborg dreams about the same
I
thing.
meaning
Mhm,
about after the finish this, you can maybe, I don't know, open Instagram
mhm,
or YouTube channel. I don't, you know.
mhm. Yeah,
Bold.
if you will type, for example, if you will type Shakira, Shakira, imagine, you can
Mhm.
see. Oh, you can see the song. You see,
Welcome, UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, renowned
it's a
singer and devoted advocate for
United
children's rights,
Nations General
Shakira.
Assembly.
Mhm.
Do you see? Can you hear the song?
No,
We
I
live in a
no, no,
Uh,
no.
world
Actually, you can
in which
see
many of
in
those
YouTube this
who are
song,
born
and
poor
Mhm.
it
will
means
die poor.
it's interesting
And it is up to us to be the first society.
because she says like the life is there are a lot of injustice in this world, and it's about
Yeah,
how can you stop wars, how can we
yeah,
mm, make the world a better place? Like it's about justice, like this.
yeah. But in our life, a lot of propaganda, you know, and it's too hard to explain to people.
Yeah, because but a lot of people want to know the truth, and actually, it's about the truth. What is the truth?
I think in Russian they don't want to know truth. They only uh, how they to say.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah,
Maybe,
yeah.
yeah, maybe later. I don't know. Maybe later. People will want to know the truth because people
Mhm.
don't read Bible. People don't understand the teaching of Jesus Christ. People don't understand his doctrine, and because books of Swedenborg are about spiritual meaning of the Bible. Because a lot of Christians and uh, a lot of believers understand the teaching of Jesus Christ and understand the Bible in only literal sense, but
Mhm.
literal sense is not right sense of the Bible, because
Mhm.
it's like contradiction between the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. Do you
Mhm.
understand what is the letter of the law and the spirit of the law? No?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
Um,
and because
so you
every
all
judge
books,
knows.
all
Mhm.
books, for example, Quran, Bible, they are all have spiritual meaning. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
but a lot of people, for example, from Quran, they Arab people, yeah, they all think
Hmm.
that it's the natural meaning of this book. So I don't know. Maybe after the finishing this book, maybe you start to read Quran, and we try to understand the meaning. Yeah, I know that Swedenborg try to explain Quran too. But I think we should and Quran to read to understand.
Yeah, because he gives us the method how can we interpret holy books, and by using this method, we can interpret Quran, and we can understand Quran in spiritual sense, because this is the same method. Because a lot of Muslims and scientists in Quran, they say that Quran has inner meaning, Quran has spiritual meaning, and this is it's very important to understand the spiritual meaning. And it's like the spiritual meaning is about that Quran or Bible interpret itself. For example, when you read Quran, you should know Quran very well, and you should remember other verses of Quran. For example, if you read this verse, for example, in Quran, he says we should remember another verses of Quran, and we are like translators, because you see it's about strangers. For example, he means in this book, it's about foreigners, and slaves and strangers, and we should remember the meaning of strangers and foreigners in other verses of Quran or Bible, and we can understand the meaning of this term, like foreigners. Do you understand who is strangers and foreigners? Yeah, like this.
Of course.
Yeah,
stranger.
And we can understand the spiritual meaning of this verse. Like, if we are like translators, we can translate and interpret Quran better, because we remember the meaning of these words in another verses and passages like this. Because, for example, she writes, strangers will stand and pasture your flock, and the children of a foreigner will be your farmers and your vine dressers. In this sense, children of foreigners, and we can understand the meaning of strangers and foreigners. And you will be called Jehovah's priests, attendants of our God. It will be said to you. And the wealth of the Gentile nations you will eat, because how is it possible to eat the wealth of the Gentile nations? And you will eat the wealth of the Gentile nations, and their glory you will glory in, and the glory you will glory in. You see, it's about, is it about what? We should understand the meaning of these words, like wealth, and foreigners, strangers, and we can interpret this passage in this way, if you understand the meaning of these terms like this. That and by using this method, we can interpret Quran and Bible in spiritual sense, because everything has its spiritual meaning in God's words. But because when we read Quran, we should understand inner meaning of Quran, because inner meaning has God's thought. Because we should understand what does God think about that, what is the meaning of that, like this. Okay, let's continue reading. Yeah. Heavenly kinds of people are called Jehovah's priests. Spirit. Maybe he will explain what it means to eat wealth of the Gentile nations. Because is it about what? How can I eat the wealth of the Gentile nations? And what is the wealth of that? It's like money, gold, possession, maybe. I don't think so, because it's about spiritual things. And he says, heavenly kinds of people are called Jehovah's priests, spiritual ones, God's attendants. Those who see worship as consisting only in outward appearances are called the children of a foreigner. It's interesting. Yeah, to see who see worship as consisting only in outward appearances are called children of a foreigner, destined to serve in the fields and vineyards. In the same author The children of a foreigner will rebuild the walls, and the monarchs will tend to you. Their monarchs will tend to you. What does it mean? The children of foreigner will rebuild the walls, and their monarchs will tend to you. The verse 2 mentions their labor as slaves in Joshua concerning the Gibeonites. Gibeonites, yeah.
Gibeonites.
Gibeonites. Gibeonites. A curse on you, and the slave will not be cut off from you, or those chopping wood and drawing water for the house of my God. Joshua on the day made them choppers of wood and drawers of water for the assembly, particularly for Jehovah's altar. The pact was made with the Gibeonites. I forgot.
Gibeonites.
Gibeonites. A pact was made with the Gibeonites, though. What kind of people they therefore represented may be seen elsewhere, but they were among those who would act as servants in the church. A law was laid down for the foreigners, stating that if they accepted peace and opened their gates, they would serve as tribute in the form of slave labor. What is tribute?
Tribute.
Tribute, like reward. Tribute. In the form of slave labor. Each and everything written about the Jewish church in the word represented the Lord's kingdom, a kingdom that by its very nature requires everyone of whatever identity of character to do something useful. Nothing but usefulness is regarded by the Lord in his kingdom. Even people in hell have to be useful. But the uses they feel are very lowly. Some of the people doing menial work, like servant,
Menial.
menial. People doing menial work in the other world are individuals whose worship had been completely external, disconnected as it was from any inner content. Furthermore, representative meanings in the Jewish church were such that they imply nothing about the person filling a role, but only about the phenomenon that the person represented. Jews, for instance, were anything but heavenly people, and yet that is the kind of people they represented. By the same token, Israel was anything but a spiritual person, and yet that is what he represented, and the same for Jacob and all the others, including the monarchs and priests, who nonetheless represented the Lord's royal power and holiness. The point is illustrated even more clearly by the fact that inanimate objects also filled a representative role. This included Aaron's vestments. What is vestments? Like garments. Yeah.
Vestments.
Vestments like garment. Vestments are the altar itself, the tables holding the loaves, the lamps, and the bread and wine, not to mention adult cattle, young cattle, he goats, sheep, she goats, lambs, pigeons, and turtle doves. The children of Judah and Israel merely represented the internal and external worship that takes place in the Lord's church, while more than any other people they considered worship to consist only in outward acts. Consequently, they more than any others are the ones who can be called Canaan in view of his symbolism here. Anyone who wants to know what Shem and Japheth are, that is who the people of the inner and outer church are, and by extension, what Canaan is, can see from the following. People in the inner church attribute every good deed they do and every true thought they think to the Lord, but people in the outer church do not know they should do this, although they still do good deeds. People in the inner church assign crucial, how to say,
Crucial.
crucial, like important, crucial. Assign crucial importance to charity-based worship of the Lord, and in fact, to inner worship, outward worship, they consider less important. People in the outer church assign crucial importance to outward worship, not knowing what inner worship is, although they do engage in it. So people in the inner church believe they are violating conscience if they do not worship the Lord from within, while people of the outer church believe they are violating conscience if they do not reverently,
Reverently.
reverently, reverent. Do not reverently observe the external rituals. The conscience of a person in the inner church is well supplied, because such a person knows much about the word's inner meaning. The conscience of a person in the outer church, in the other hand, is less well supplied, since such a person knows little about the word's inner meaning. The former, a person in the inner church, is the one called Shem, while the latter, a person in the outer church, is the one called Japheth. But an individual who considers worship exclusively a matter of outward acts, who possesses no charity and therefore no conscience, is called Canaan. Okay, it's next verse. Maybe someone wants to read next verse, Genesis 9:27.
I read.
Yeah, go ahead. Genesis 9:27.
Give me a moment. What's this? May God. Is it my God?
Yeah, yeah. It's Genesis 9:27. My God.
Genesis 9:27. My God brought then Japheth, and he will live in Shem's tents, and Canaan will be slave to him. Japheth symbolizes the corresponding outer church, and he did above. May God broaden Japheth symbolizes its enlightenment, and he will live in Shem's. Tense means to that the inner dimensions of worship exist within the outward forms. And Canaan will be slave to him here as before means that those who identify worship. So I can't read it.
Soli.
Solo?
Soli.
Oh, solely. With external.
Solely.
Oh,
Solely.
Solely.
Solely. It's like only.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Okay.
can I read? guys.
Maybe next verse, if you can. Yeah, because it's like this verse is started right now, and you can read it in your turn. Next verse. Yeah.
Okay.
Worship solely with external forms can serve in lowly ways. I have already said that Japhet symbolizes the corresponding outer church. What is meant by the outer church has also been stated. To be specific, it is outward worship, and consequently, it is those who do not know what the inner self is, or what belongs to the inner self, but who still live in charity. The Lord is equally present with these people because He operates through charity wherever it exists. The situation resembles that of little children who have no idea what charity is, still less what faith is, despite which the Lord's presence is much stronger with them than with adults, especially when the children live a life of shared kindness. It is the same with simplicity, simple, simple thinking. People who have innocence, charity, and mercy. Knowing a lot makes no difference if we do not live by what we know, since the only point in knowing anything is to be shaped by it, specifically into good people, good with into good people when we have become good. We gain far more than people who know countless facts without being good, because what they seek to obtain from their vast knowledge we already possesses. It is quite different, though, who a person whose knowledge of truth and goodness is deep and broad, who at the same time has charity and conscience, and who is part of the inner church, or in other words, in Shem. People who know little but possess a conscience become enlightened in the next life, so enlightened that they turn into angels, and then their wisdom and understanding is beyond words. These are the power of the people, rather, symbolized by Japhet. May God broaden Japhet, symbolizes the church's enlightenment. In a literal sense, broadening means enlarging the borders, but in an inner sense, it means being enlightened. Being enlightened is like having the borders of one's wisdom and understanding enlarged, as in Isaiah. Broaden the place of your tent, and let the curtains of your dwellings stretch out. This stands for being enlightened in spiritual matters. People in the outer church are broadened when they learn about true ideas and good impulses of faith. And since they are under the influence of charity, they grow more and more convinced of what they learn. The more they learn, the more it scatters the clouds obscuring their intellectual side, which houses their charity and conscience. He will live in Shem's tents means so that the inner dimensions of worship exist within the outward forms. This meaning is established by all the things said about Shem so far. Shem is the inner church, or worship, inward worship, and outward worship is only some lifeless, dirty thing without inward worship to give it life and sanctify it. Is it sanctify?
Sanctify.
or
Sanctify.
Sa-
Sanctify, I think.
Sanctify.
Sanctify. Sanctify. Yeah.
sanctify.
Sanctify.
It's like cleanse,
Mhm.
consecrate, hallow, devote. It's like to make something holy and clean.
The fact that tents simply mean holy love and the worship that grows out of it can be seen from the symbolism of tents. Tents, given earlier at section 414, the ancient habitually used the phrases travel with tents and reside in tents, which is an inner.
Habitually, it's about habit, yeah? Habitually.
I think so.
Yeah,
Habitually.
habitually. Like customarily,
Mhm.
normally. Yeah, it's from habit, which an inner.
Inner sense symbolize sacred worship because the earliest people both move around and settle down in tents, conducting their sacred worship in them. On an inner level, as a result, migrating and setting up residence also symbolize living. In addition to the passages quoted earlier in section 414, let the following serve to confirm that tents symbolize sacred worship in David.
You said migrating. Is it migrating or migrating?
Migrating?
Mm.
Migrating. I'm not sure, but I just said migrating.
Mm.
Migrating.
Yeah, migrating. It means my migration. Yeah.
Migration.
Migration. Yeah, I didn't know that migration. Like migrants. Yeah. And
Mhm.
if there are people, yeah, it will be like migrants. Yeah.
Move. It's like
Mi-
movement, transfer, like that.
Migration and okay. Indeed.
God deserted his dwelling place in Shiloh, the tent where they live among humankind. The tent has the same symbolism as a temple, and God is said to live in it when He is present with humankind in love. The ancients accordingly called an individual who lived a life of sacred worship a tent, and later a temple in Isaiah. Broaden the place of your tent, and let the tent curtains of your dwellings stretch out. This stands for enlightenment regarding the elements of true worship. In Jeremiah, the whole earth was devastated. In an instant, were my tents devastated in a moment. My tent curtains. Obviously, it is not tents, but holy worship that is meant here. In Zechariah, Jerusalem will still dwell in its place. In Jerusalem, Jehovah will save the tents of Judah. The tents of Judah stand for worshiping the Lord in the holiness of love. These passages illustrate what it is to live in Shem's tents, to have inward worship within one's outer worship. But since the human being called Japheth, the person who is in the outer church, does not really know what the inner dimension is, it must be spelled out briefly. Sometimes we might sense or perceive inside ourselves that we are thinking rightly about the Lord, and that we are thinking rightly about our neighbors, and wanting to render them assistance without looking for any financial reward or prestige for ourselves. Sometimes we might also feel sympathy for those who are suffering calamity, and even greater sympathy for those who are misled about Is it misled or mislead?
Mislead, I think.
It's misled.
Misled.
Mhm.
Oh,
Mislead. It's like mistake. Mislead.
misguided. Yeah.
Mhm. And how how did you say this word? This word?
Financial.
Maybe financial. Yeah. Let's see. I don't sure.
Financial.
Oh,
Yeah. I am correct. Financial. You said
okay.
financial. Financial. Who are misled about?
Religious doctrine. And these times we can be sure that we are living in Shem's tents, or in other words, that we have inside us a deeper dimension through which the Lord can work. The meaning of Canaan will be slave to him, as the fact that those who identify worship solely with external forms can perform lowly duties is established by the things said about Canaan as a slave above in the last verses 25 and 26. To be sure, the people like this are not slaves in the Lord's church on earth. Many of them occupy top positions, higher than anyone else. Nothing that they do has its basis in charity or conscience, although they observe the external requirements of religion very strictly and even condemn those who do not. But there is a consequence to the fact that they have no neighborly love or conscience and consider the outward show, devoid of inner content, to be the whole of worship. Uh, the consequence is that they are slaves in the Lord's kingdom, the other life. Unfortunates that they are. The tasks they perform are menial, menial or menial,
Menial.
Menial.
menial,
Menial. It's like
men,
servant.
menial,
Servant.
menial, and too numerous to discuss in detail. I will have more to say on them later. However, by Lord's divine mercy.
It's interesting. Yeah, we should memorize it. If you want to if someone asks you to do something or to say something, but you want to say that or to do that in future, you can say, however, I will have more to say on them later. However, by the Lord's divine mercy. It's like important. However, by the Lord's divine mercy. It's like this. Yeah, I want to do that, but however, by the Lord's divine mercy.
Mhm.
If I will not do it, it means I will not have the Lord's divine mercy to do that. Yeah, and he often, Swedenborg often repeats this sentence like this. I will have more to say on them later. However, by the Lord's divine mercy. And I think I should memorize the sentence to use.
Okay. Everyone, no matter who, has to do useful work in the next life. We are born for no purpose but to be useful to the community we live in and to our neighbor as long as we are alive in the world, and to serve at the Lord's good pleasure in the other world. The situation resembles that in the human body, every part of our anatomy has to serve a function, including elements that in themselves are worthless, fluids that exist to be excreted.
What
For
is
instance,
that? Excreted.
Excreted.
Excreted. Like emitted. Excreted like it's like excrement too.
Excreted.
Excreted like what follows, like allocate, deduce. It's like figurative language. Emitted.
Emitted.
Like emission. Excreted.
Okay. For instance, as the many types of saliva do.
What
And
is
the
it? What is this?
saliva is
What? Saliva.
Saliva.
It's like in the mouth.
yeah.
In the mouth.
Mhm.
Inside of mouth, liquid in the mouth. Okay. Saliva do.
And the different types of bile.
What is this?
Bile.
Bile. It's like in the stomach, like that bile.
And others. Not only
It's
do
liquid,
they
liquid in stomach like that. It's
Saliva.
saliva, saliva, and bile.
types of bile and others. Not only do they have to work on the food, they also have to extract waste products and clean out the intestines. Another parallel is manure and dung used on fields and in vineyards and so on. Is it dung? DUNG? Like
Down, yeah.
like dungeon?
Dung.
Done in
Okay.
and manure. It's like the same
Manure.
manure, like the same thing. It's like shit of cows, like that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's good thing for on fields and in vineyards like this for good harvest.
Okay.
And in intestines. Yeah,
Intestines.
it's like stomach. It's like after stomach in body. Okay, thank you. Who wanted to read next? Someone was saying, is it you? Yeah, who was saying to
I
read?
could try to read. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you can read this verse from Genesis 9:28, 29.
Sure.
And
And Noah
go
lived
ahead.
after the flood for 350 years, and all Noah's days were 950 years, and he died. This symbolizes the length of time the first ancient church lasted and conditions in that church as well. 1105. This symbolism is sufficiently clear from earlier remarks about numbers and years, which may be seen oh gosh, I know already that.
Yeah, numbers don't matter. Yeah,
okay,
numbers don't matter.
Yeah, spiritual devastation. There are many people who, in their naivete and ignorance, sucked up falsities about religion while they were in the world, developed a certain brand of conscience harmonizing with the principles.
It's conscience, but you say like conscience.
I'm sorry, yeah, I was
Conscience.
reading quite quick, so.
Conscience.
Conscience, yeah, conscience.
Yeah, conscience.
Conscience, like inner voice.
Yeah, if I
Harmonizing
said
the
conscience,
principle.
I didn't even notice. So. Their faith and okay, of their faith, and unlike some others, did not live a life of hatred, revenge, and adultery. In the next world, they cannot be admitted into heavenly society as long as their ideas remain false, because if they were, they would contaminate it. So they are kept in an underground region for some time in order to slough off their false assumptions there. The period of their stay in that place is longer or shorter, depending on the nature of their
What is contaminate? Contaminate.
like infected. I don't know.
Pollute. It's like infect, yeah. Pollute. Dirty, to make something dirty. They would contaminate it. And what is this word? Slow, yeah? Slow. What is that?
Slough.
Slough. Slough. It's like swamp. Slough. Nature of their
false thinking and the kind of life it led them to adopt, and depending also on the degree to which they have cemented such principles in their minds. Some people suffer harshly there, some not so harshly. This is what is called devastation, and mention of it comes up quite often in the word. What's the word?
Word? It's like God's information.
Oh, okay.
God's message. It's like it's like God's law, God's commands, God's message, God's information.
I see. Thank
God's
you.
program.
When their period of devastation has ended, they are lifted into heaven, where as novices they receive instruction.
What is novices? Novices.
I don't know.
Novices.
It's like beginner, disciple.
Novices.
Novices. For example, if you learn any language, like English, for example, if you learn and if you're a beginner,
No.
I
mean,
say,
I do know what it means.
You're a novice. Yeah.
Novices.
I do know what it means. I just didn't know how to help you translating that. So, yeah, they receive instruction. Instruction in religious truth. The angels who welcome them are their teachers. Should I keep going?
Yeah, you can read this verse if you can.
Some are very willing to be devastated or purged, and so rid themselves of the false premises they have dragged with them from the world. No one can ever shed false assumptions into next life except over time and through means that the Lord provides. While they stay in the underground realm, the Lord maintains in them a hope for deliverance. He also keeps them thinking about a goal, which is to change for the better and become ready to accept heaven's happiness. Some remain in a state midway between wakefulness and sleep, thinking little except from time to time when they seem to waken and remember the things they had thought and done during bodily life. Then they fall back into a state midway between waking and sleeping. This is the way they are purged. They are under the left foot, out in front a little. People who had fully conformed themselves in misguided principles are reduced to total ignorance. Is that it?
How did you say this word?
Folly. Had fully conformed.
Folly, or you say like folly, folly. It's fully, yeah? Or folly?
Yep.
Fully or folly?
Depends on the accent. Generally, like you say, fully. Like, I usually say fully, actually. Yeah.
Fully.
Fully, yeah?
Fully.
Is it correct to say fully? Fully,
Yep.
yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know which accent you're going for. The British?
I learn American. For example, I think. What is your first language? Your first language?
Oh, my first language is Portuguese.
It's
Fully.
you see, it's American accent. Fully.
I see.
Fully. But you said like Fully, yeah? Fully. Total ignorance.
Yeah, I'm not very good with English, so I just try my best.
Fully.
Okay.
Confirm themselves in misguided principles are reduced to
Yeah,
total
keep reading.
ignorance.
Keep reading because I have to cook. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you for reading. And then they feel so dark and confused that when they merely think about the ideas they had confirmed themselves in, they suffer deep-seated pain. When their time has finished, though they are created anew in a manner of speaking, manner of speaking, manner. Manner, like way. In a manner of speaking, and they absorb the truth that faith embraces. Some people had claimed that good deeds would make them virtuous and earn them credit. Earn and earn. It's earn. Earn. Like earn money. Them virtuous and earn them credit, and in this way they assign to themselves, not to the Lord and His virtue and merit, the ability to achieve salvation. They had hardened this idea in themselves by the way they thought and the way they lived. In the other life, their misguided assumptions turn into hallucinations in which they seem to themselves to be cutting wood. This is exactly how it appears to them. I have talked with them, and if asked while at their work whether they are tired, they answer that they have not yet done enough work to earn heaven. While they are cutting wood, it appears as though something of the Lord lies under the logs, so that the wood is their merit. The more of the Lord there is in the pieces of wood, the longer they remain woodcutters. But when it begins to vanish, the period of devastation is drawing to its close. Finally, they arrive at a point where they can be allowed into good communities, but for a long time they continue to go back and. Sorry, who is shouting here? I'm reading the book. You can see this book on the stream.
What? Can I read?
Yeah, you can read the next page. Yeah, from next page. I will finish
Okay,
this,
I
and
I
you can
will
read.
read the next page for me.
Mhm. Finally, they arrive at a point where they can be allowed into good communities, but for a long time, they continue to go back and forth between a true idea and a false one. Because they have lived a devout life, they are objects of particular care to the Lord, and He repeatedly sends them angels. They are the ones who were represented in the Jewish religion by the woodcutters in Joshua 9:23-27. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's your
So,
section to read. Mhm.
so people okay had lived a life of Sorry guys. قول لي اقرا It's me, right?
Who wants to read?
Me?
Go ahead. Yeah,
Me,
who
I
wanted
want
to
to
read?
read. I
Lipton.
want to read. Please, please,
Mhm.
please, please,
Okay.
please,
Okay.
please.
You go for
Okay.
it.
Share. Some people had lived a life of civics and moral good, but had
Civic.
convincing what?
It's civic.
Uh,
This word is
civic.
civic.
Okay. Of civic
You can
and moral
Civic.
good, but
civic.
civic. Okay. Thank you. And Google تخديك civic and moral good, but have convinced themselves they would earn heaven by their deeds, beliefs, and it's sufficient to acknowledge that the one God as the creator of the universe. In the other life, their false assumption turn into hallucination in which they seem themselves to be moving, moving and they are called grass cutters. They are called and do the okay, the mowing in the an effort to warm up. Sometimes they wander around asking the people they meet, "Would you lend me some warmth?" Imparting warmth is something that spirits are indeed
Spirits.
capable
Where are you from?
It's
capable of,
spirits.
but
Good.
okay, but the kind these
Norway.
people receive does nothing for them because it is superficial when what they crave is honor hate. So they go back to their own and warm themselves by their work. I felt their chill. They are constantly.
Way.
Thank you, thank you,
Thank you, thank you, thank you, brother.
thank you, brother. Okay,
صافي وكيف.
Hmm. Who wants to continue? Maybe.
Can I read?
okay.
Yeah. Uh, Lipton wanted to read. Is he here? But I don't see.
Okay,
Is
okay.
he?
Lipton, read,
Okay.
Lipton.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
Lipton. You wanted to read, yeah? You can
Yes.
read.
Yeah, I wanted to read. From where I have to start?
What? Okay.
From top. From top, it like
Okay.
they are constantly hype, hopeful.
Oh,
Hopeful of being taken up into heaven.
okay.
Sometimes they seek advice on how to make it there under their own power. Since they did do good deeds, they are among those who undergo devastation, and when their term is completed, they are finally accepted into good communities where they receive instruction. People who had immer, immersed themselves in good effect and true ideas of faith, on the other hand, and who had in this way acquired conscience and a life of charity are raised into heaven by the Lord immediately after death. They are girls who had been led into promiscuity and consequently persuaded that there is nothing wrong with such a behavior. But those characters have been upright in all other respects, because they have not yet reached an age at which they can understand or evaluate the way of life. They are given a personal tutor, a fairly strict one, who reprimands this whenever they fantasize about committing such an indecency. This tutor they fear intensely. That is how they are
Teacher,
Teacher,
first.
teacher, teacher, teacher.
there is
Pardon?
a mistake. Fantasize. Oh, I think.
Fantasize. Yeah, fantasize, right?
Yeah,
Fantasize
yeah,
about
yes.
Yeah.
committing.
Okay.
Did I mispronounce?
Yeah, it is
Fantasize.
like that. Fantasize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Fantasize.
Mhm. You can hear.
Fantasize.
Fantasize.
Fantasize, okay. But full grown women who were prostitutes and recruited other women. What is this story about, to be honest?
Mm, is it about heaven and hell like this? It's about like state of mind.
One
Mm,
second, some other person can be. I have some work. I have to be muted for a second.
Teacher, 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 teacher.
s- who?
Where are you from?
Me?
Yes,
I
teacher.
don't say that because I don't like to talk about myself. I'm just reading this book and
Okay.
I'm learning English from this book, but I don't like to talk about myself.
Oh, okay. Because I think you are native speaker. I think.
Okay,
No,
Disoli
no, I'm just
teacher.
learning.
Ah,
Disoli
I'm
you
just
teacher.
just
learning.
learning. Okay. Thank you,
Thank
teacher.
you, teacher. Disoli.
Continue. Continue.
Well, this is like who is a
Tutor.
tutor? Tutor like coach, teacher, yeah, tutor,
Tutor.
tutor. What it means? And
Yeah, teacher.
Teacher.
No, no, I'm not
what is
talking.
what is this?
Teacher.
Who knows?
Reprimands, I guess. Reprimands.
Reprimands.
What
Reprimands
it
or
means?
reprimands.
Reprimands.
I don't know that, to be honest.
Reprimands. Reprimands.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Reprimands.
Reprimand.
Reprimands.
Penalty.
Ah, reprimands.
Reprimands.
Ah, okay.
Reprieve.
Um, reprimands. It's like rebuke, penalty, notation. For example, if you don't learn your lesson, your teacher can can give reprimands to you, like punishment, maybe, yeah. And intense. Okay, perched. Who next? Not undergo devastation. They are in hell. That's all. Next chapter. Yeah, it's next chapter. Genesis 10. Who is reading?
Can I read?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
The earliest church called humankind or Adam. And just as spirits are, in other words, human being after death, can meet anyone they want, anyone they had known in the world or heard of, when the Lord grants it, they can see such people in person and talk with them. And what is amazing, the present desire appears in instantly face to face. So it is possible to converse not only with friends, and friends usually find each other, but also with other people one had admired and revere. revere. The Lord, in His divine mercy, has given me the opportunity to talk not only to people I knew when they were alive in the body, but also with
What I forgot what is admired. It's like
Admired.
respected. Admired body, but also with leading.
leading, leading figures
With
in
leading.
yeah, leading figures in the world. Likewise, with people from the earliest church, the one called humankind or Adam, and with some adherents of later church too. The purpose was to show me that the personal names in the early chapters of Genesis only mean different religions, and to teach me what people in the church of the era were like. The things I learned about the earliest church then are the following. People who had been part of the earliest church, which was called humankind or Adam. Heavenly people are high up overhead, where they live together in sublime happiness. They say that others rarely approach them, except for occasional visitors from elsewhere, or as they put it, from the
Sublime. What is it?
sublime.
Mm.
Sublime.
It is
It's
height.
like high. Thank you. They put it from the universe.
the universe. They are positioned so high above the head. They, they added, was not due to inflated pride. On the contrary, the goal was to allow them to govern the people there. I was shown the houses of the people who belong to the second and third generation of this earliest church, and they are magnificent. They they are
Mhm. Inflated. What is this? Inflated. It's about pride, inflated pride.
Inflated.
It's like pumped.
inflated.
Bloated. hmm It's like fill up. Okay. Magnificent.
Inflated. They are very long and each displays various beautiful shades of deep red and of blue. And just have houses that are simply glorious, so glorious that words could never describe them. I have seen the houses many times. They appear so vividly before the sight of their inhabitants that nothing could strike the eyes more vividly. But the reason why the visual experience is so intense will be explained later.
Shades. Beautiful shades. What is it? Shades. Shades like color. hmm hmm
In the Lord's divine mercy, they live in an aura of pearly light, so to speak, and sometimes in one of diamond like radiance. In the next life, countless different variety, varieties of atmosphere exist, and they are incredible. People are seriously mistaken if they do not consider such things possible there, and infinitely more of them than anyone ever has been or ever will be able to picture. It is true that this thing exists as representations, as did some of the uh, prophets saw, but they are so vivid that they are completely real to the inhabitants of the next world and make the objects of this world seem unreal by comparison. They live in the greatest possible light. The light of the world can hardly be compared to the light in which they
Forgot what is vivid. Vivid. It's
Vivid.
like colorful. Colorful. Bright. Vivid. Expressive. Okay.
Can I
Vivid.
read?
Can you read? Sorry, what are you saying?
Which book you are guys reading?
It's
Secrets of Heaven.
Secrets of Heaven. This is this book. You can see.
Good book, good book. I'll read the paragraph. Watch, listen. The light was
Don't
shown to me in the form of a flame that more or less streamed down in front of my eyes, and the people who had come from the earliest church told me that they had the same kind of light, only brighter. By means of inspiration I cannot describe, I was shown how they had talked with when they were alive in the world. Their speech was not articulated as the verbal speech we use today. Today is it's kind of awkward, but silent produced not by external but by internal breathing. I also had the opportunity to sense what their internal breathing was like. It moved from the navel to the heart and then out through the lips without a sound. It did not enter another person's ear from outside and vibrate on the path called the eardrum, but trace the path.
Drum. Eardrum. What is this?
Drum. Mhm. The drum may.
Oh. It's like
Drum.
musical instrument.
It's like
Tambourine.
a vibrating membrane of the like it's like it vibrates and it produces sounds. Okay, and like
Yeah.
it captures sounds and it sends a signal to our brain, and we hear when we hear stuff. Without eardrum, we cannot hear it. Okay, through the mouth and in fact through a passage where there that we now call the what's it called? Ischang. What's it called?
What's the word?
Ischamchine tube.
Sorry.
Ischamchine tube.
Ah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Eustachian.
Ischamchine tube.
Ah, it's like it's like inner organ of human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like it's about ear. I mean, your ear has Eustachian tube, like medical term.
Mm-hmm.
This inner
I
organ
was
in
shown
the
that
ear
this
to listen
it's like a
instruments.
ear tube. You know, let's say it's an ear tube. Okay. I was shown that this
Yeah,
kind of
it's inside. Yeah, you can see the picture. Maybe it's like inside of ear, I think, or in brain. Maybe maybe we can see the picture of this and to understand what. Yeah, do you see? It's like ear,
I see.
and do you see? It's like in the inside of
Yeah, the
head.
tube that connects. Yeah, connecting tube. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, it's like
My ear is
Eustachian
hurting,
tube.
man, by wearing headphones. It hurts. It hurts a lot. I wear headphones. I was shown that this kind of speech enabled them to express the thoughts of their hearts and the ideas in their minds much more fully than articulated sounds or audible words ever could. Audible sounds to travel on the breath because no word contains any
Breath.
element that can breath
It's
because no word
breath.
contains any element.
Breathe.
Breathe, yeah,
No?
it was breathe. Breathe. Breath?
I think it's
No.
breath. Let's check out.
It's breath.
Yeah,
Breathe.
breath.
Воздух.
Breath. No,
Breathe
breathe
with
is,
E. Breathe with E. But
yeah,
with this one, this is
Breathe.
breath.
breathing.
Breath.
Can you
Breath.
hear breath?
Yeah,
Breath.
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 yeah, breath. Because no word contains any element that can conveyed without the use of, I cannot see, because, breath, breath, breath. But the process was much more perfect with them because it relied on internal breathing. Since internal breathing takes place on a deeper plane, it is more perfect and better adapted to the actual ideas in our head. In addition, they use subtle motions of lips and corresponding facial changes. Since they were a heavenly kind of people, everything they thought shone out from their face and eyes, which altered to shoot the to what's it called? Shoot, shoot, shoot. The last third.
Which altered? What is this?
Yeah, which
Altered.
altered to shoot. What's it called?
Yeah. I see. It's
Bullshit.
No,
like
no.
altered, like
I
changed.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know what altered is, but sweet. Yeah.
Mhm.
What's how to pronounce
Shoot.
Suit.
suit? Isn't it a
Suit.
Suit.
old word or new word?
It's like satisfy, accommodate, maybe feed.
Suit the thought. Yeah. Feed the thought. Suit the thought.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking British English. Ah,
altered to suit. Like
Altered.
in this sense, if you read these two words, altered to suit, like change, yeah, change,
If you,
transform to suit,
yeah, yeah.
which
Uh, uh,
altered, like changed, maybe. Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
So thought. They were completely incapable of any facial expressions that did not agree with their thinking. They considered pretense a heinous crime and a deceit even worse. I had a practical demonstration of the way the internal breathing, I cannot see after that, uh, internal breathing of the earliest people and entered silently into a type of external breathing they had, and so into soundless speech. Listeners heard this speech in their inner self. They said this kind of respiration varied in them depending on the state of their love for the Lord and faith in Him. They told the reason, to which was the since is it which was that since they were communicating with heaven, they were necessarily breathing in rhythm with the angels who kept them company. Angels do have respiration, and inner breathing keeps peace within with it. With it, okay. They undergo similar They undergo similar changes in their breathing because when anything arises to oppose love for the Lord or faith in Him, they have difficulty breathing. But when they enjoy the good cheer of love and faith, their breathing is free and full. Everyone on earth experiences something similar, but it occurs in connect, it occurs in
Connection.
connection with our bodily and worldly passion and our conviction. When anything opposes this, we choke, but when when anything caters to them, we breathe freely and fully. These facts, however, relate to external breathing. I will have more to say on the respiration of angels later. Blah 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 section, though with the Lord's divine mercy. Okay, someone else can read now.
Thank you. Who wants to read next?
Fort Gain, you wanna go?
Okay, I'll read. I was also shown that the inner breathing of the people in the earliest church, which had flowed, flowed,
Flowed.
flowed. It's like flowed. It's about water like this. Had flowed from the navel. What is this? Navel.
It's like a navel button, belly
Navel.
button. Yeah.
Ah,
Your
yeah.
stomach hole. Yeah.
Yeah. Navel. From the navel toward the deeper areas of the chest had altered as time altered. Had altered. What is this altered?
Altered.
Changed. Altered is changed. Had altered as time passed, that is, had altered in their descendants. It had withdrawn more toward the back and the belly, or more toward the surface and downward, until finally, in the last generation of the church, the generation right before the flood, hardly any internal breathing remained, 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 remained. In the end, when the breathing inside the chest disappeared, they spontaneously suffocated. If some people, though external breathing, they too cold as did articulated sounds or verbal speech. As I was shown, these are the ways people living before the flood breathed depending on the state of their love and faith. In the end, when there was no longer love or faith, but only a convinced belief in falsity, internal breathing stopped, as did direct communication with angels and perceptive knowledge. Is it perceptive knowledge? Okay. Who wants to read next? Maybe.
I read.
Go ahead.
The progeny of the earliest church have taught me about the level of perception they had enjoyed. They had they had possessed the ability to perceive any proposition of faith almost to the same degree as angels, with whom they communicated. One reason was that their inner self, their spirit, was united to heaven by means of internal breathing. Another was that love for the Lord and love for one's neighbor carry this communication with them because because these two kinds of love unite people on earth with angels through the essential core of their life, which consists in such love. They said they had the law written in them because they love the Lord and their neighbor. Since everything the laws require consequently agree with their perception, and everything the laws prohibit conflicted with their perceptions. They had no doubt that all human laws resembling divine laws in being founded on love for the Lord and charity for one's neighbor, and in looking to love and charity as their basis. Of course, since they had a foundation from the Lord inside themselves, they knew everything that was built on it. They believed too that all those alive in the world today who love the Lord and their neighbor also have the law written in them and are welcome as citizens anywhere on earth, just as any such people are welcome in the other life. I learned further that people in the earliest church had the most pleasant dreams and visions as well, and that the meaning of the dreams and visions was suggested to them at the same time. This led to their use of paradise and other images of metaphors. The objects of their outer senses, which belong to the earth and the world, accordingly meant nothing to them. They felt no pleasure in those things, but only in what they symbolized and represented. As a result, when they saw earthly objects, they did not think at all about them, but only about the qualities they symbolized and represented. Such qualities inspired them with a great pleasure, because these were the kinds of things that exist in heaven and reveal the Lord to them. I talked to the third generations of the earliest church, and they said that in their day on earth they looked forward to the arrival of the Lord, who was to save the human race. It was common, they said, for them to speak of the fact that the woman's seed would trample the snake's head. They went on to say that from the time on, the greatest accelerations of their life had been to have children, with the result that their highest pleasure was loving their spouse in order to produce offspring. They call they call
Exhilaration. What is this?
acceleration.
Exhilaration.
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 It's like joy, excitement, emotional exhilaration.
Exhilaration.
Exhilaration. Greatest exhilaration. It's like joy. Greatest joy.
They call this their most enjoyable delight and their most delightful joy. The perception of this thrill and pleasure, they added, uh, came from the idea flowing out of heaven that the Lord would be born. Some of their descendants living before the flood, not those who were destroyed in it, but others of somewhat better character were, were present with me. And at the first, they exerted a fairly gentle influence that was not very noticeable. But I was able to perceive that deep down they were bad, and deep down they worked against love. And aura with the strength of that flesh waft from them.
Wafted like it's about smelling like this. Wafted.
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 Oh,
Wafted.
Wafted.
wafted, yeah,
Like
wafted.
cast. Cast.
Okay,
Cast.
Cast. It's like it's about smelling. Or with the stench of that bad smell.
okay.
Wafted.
Wafted from them, making the spirits around me run away. They thought they were so subtle that no one would be able to tell what they were thinking. I carried on a conversation with them about the the Lord, asking whether, like their forebears, they had awaited his coming. They had represented the Lord to themselves, they said, as an old and godly individual with a white beard, and because of him, because me, the watch and grow beards themselves. That is the origin of the religious scruple about beards that sprang up among their descendants. Even now, they were able to worship him devotedly. They they added, although they did so according to their own
Scrapple.
scruple.
Scruple.
Oh,
Scruple.
scruple,
Scruple.
Scruple.
scruple,
It's like scruple is like doubt, hesitate, and like remorse.
scruple,
Remorse.
Remorse. It's like repentance.
scruple.
Scruple. It's like without L, yeah. Scruple.
Scruple.
Scruple
Script,
is yeah
script,
L. Scruple.
script,
Mm-hmm.
script, script.
To
Yeah,
the
okay. According to their own lights. But just then an angel approached whose coming they could not bear. I was also allowed to talk with some who had belonged to the church called and Enosh. Mentioned in Genesis, they followed into me gently and spoke modestly, saying that they live in charity among themselves and do their social duty by
1 second.
scripture.
Scruple about
Beard.
beards that sprang up among their descendants. Even now they were able to worship him devoutly. They added, although they did so according to their own. Okay. And saying that they live in charity among themselves and do their social duty by.
By any others who visit them. It was plain, though, that they extended their charity only to friends. They lived peace, peace, what? Peaceably,
Peace, peaceably, maybe, yeah, peaceably.
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 Peaceably, it's like live in peace.
Yeah, peaceably. Never troubling anyone. As the good citizens there, I saw a narrow room, and through an open door, this came into view a tall man dressed in white, a very intense white. I wonder who he was. They said that a man in white symbolized those who were referred to as Noah, or in other words, those who were the very first people in the ancient church, the church that followed the flood. Those people were represented this way, they said, because their numbers were small. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you. Who wants to read next? Maybe. I had the privilege of talking to people from the ancient church, the church following the flood, who had been referred to as Shem. They flowed, flowed in gently through the area of my head into my chest area, heading for my heart, but not reaching it. The way spirits flow in indicates that what they are like. I saw someone wretched, wretched, wretched.
Reeved.
Ah, wreathed,
Reef.
Reeved.
yeah,
Reeved.
wreathed. It's like covered, wreathed. Thank you. I saw someone wreathed in a kind of cloud on whose face were quite a few wandering stars, which symbolize falsities. It was said that this was what the descendants of the ancient church were like when it started to die out, especially among those who established a cult involving the use of sacrifices and images. Cult. Not cult, but cult, yeah. Cult.
Cult.
Cult. More on the pre-flood people who were wiped out follows at the end of the chapter. Genesis 10. And these are the births of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog. Sorry, what?
Hello.
Hello. We are reading the book. You can see on the stream this book we read, and if you want to read, you can read next section in your turn. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan and Tubal and Meshech and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz and Riphath and Togarma, and the sons of Javan, Elisha and Tarshish, Kittim and Dodanim. From this the is islands. From these the islands of the nations dispersed in their lands, each by its tongue, by their clans in their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush and Mizraim, and Put and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba and Havila, and Sapta and Ramah, and Sapteka. And the sons of Ramah, Sheba and Dedan. And Cush fathered Nimrod. He began to be mighty on the earth. He was mighty in the hunting before the face of Jehovah. For this reason, there was a saying like Nimrod, mighty in human before the face of Jehovah. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calneh and the land of Shinar. From that same land, Ashur went out and built Nineveh and the city Rehoboth and Gala. And Tisan between Nineveh and Kala, this is the great city. And Mizraim fathered the Ludim and Anamim and Lechabim and Naphtahim and Pathrishim and Kasluhim, from whom the Philistine came, and Captorim. And Canaan fathered Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and Amorite, and Girgashite, and Hivite, and Arkite, and Sinite, and Arvidite, and Zemarite, and Hamathite. And after that, the clans of the Canaanites scattered. And the border of the Canaanites reached from Sidon as you come to Gerar, as far as Gaza, as you come to Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zeboim, as far as Lasha. These are Ham's sons by their clans, by their tongues, in their lands, in their nations. And Shem too had offspring. He was the father of all the sons of Eber. He was the older brother of Japheth. The sons of Shem, Elam and Dashur and Aprachad and Lud and Aram. And the sons of Aram, Uz and Hau and Gether and Mash. And Aprachad fathered Shelah, and Shelah fathered Teber, and Teber were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, because in his days the land was divided, and the name of his brother was Joktan. And Joktan fathered Almodad, and Sheleth, and Hazarmelveth, and Jerah, and Haboram, and Izal, and Diklah, and Tobal, and Abimael, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these are the sons of Joktan, and their living space reached from Mesha as you come to Sephar, the mountain of the east. These are Shem's sons by their clans, by their tongues, in their lands, by their nations. These are the clans of Noah's sons by their births in their nations, and from them the nations scattered on the land after the flood. Summary. This whole chapter deals with the ancient church and the propagation of it. Those who engaged in outward worship that correspond to inner worship are the sons of Japheth. Those who engaged in a form of it that was further removed from inner worship are the sons of Gomer and Javan. Those whose worship was even further removed are the islands of the nations. Those who revered knowledge, facts, and ritual and separated them from any deeper properties are the sons of Ham. The ones who revered the knowledge of spiritual things are the sons of Cush, while the ones who revered the knowledge of heavenly things are the sons of Ramah. The next subject is those who engage in outward worship that holds evil and falsity within it. Nimrod is that keen kind of worship, the evil in that kind of worship, the falsity in it. Those who take facts, apply logic to them, and in this way invent new forms of worship for themselves. Those who turn religious knowledge into a mere system of fact, external without internal worship, which is Canaan, and what developed out of it, how far it extended. Inward worship, which is Shem, and the fact that it extended to the second ancient church too. Inward worship and what developed out of it. Because those developments stem from neighborly love, they have to do with wisdom, understanding, secular learning, and religious knowledge, which is various nations symbolize. A certain religion that came into existence in Syria and that was established by Iber, which should be called the Second Ancient Church. Its external worship is Peleg, its external worship Joktan, its rituals was which the nations named. How far this religion extended? extended. There were different kinds of worship in the ancient church, and they suited the character of each nation. Who wants to read next?
Me.
In Armenian. Go ahead.
In Armenian, 1139. It was said earlier that the word has four different writing modes. First, the mode of the earliest church, which resembled the manner of writing. Genesis from its first chapter up to the present one. Second, the narrative mode, which is seen in the rest of Moses and in all the other narrative books. Third, the prophetic mode, and fourth, a mode midway between the prophetic kind of people's usual way of speaking for more on this. The mode of the earliest church continues through this chapter and the next up to the mention of Eber, but it is halfway between a made-up story and true history. Noah and his offspring Sem, Ham, Japheth, and Canaan didn't and do not mean anything but the ancient church is respect to its worship in the abstract. Specifically, Sem means in a worship, Japheth a word worship that correspond to it. Ham in a worship corrupted, and the Canaan of worship dated from Ina. These particular people never exist. Instead, different kinds of worship were given their names because of the different form of worship, or all of the specific differences among them could be reduced to these basic kinds. Noah then simply meant the ancient church in general, embracing all types of worship as their progenitor. What is that? Progenitor?
Progenitor. It's like forefathers, like this, and ancestors.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Progenitor.
Founder. Like your forefather, or mother.
Still aside from those of Eva and his descendants, the names and the current chapter mean individual nations, and all of them were nations forming a part of the ancient church. That church was scattered far and wide in the land surrounding Canaan. All the people referred to here as Japheth sons were such that they engaged in outward worship corresponding to inner worship. In the other words, they lived in simple innocence, friendship, and mutual kindness, unaware of any doctrinal verse beyond their outward ritual. The people referred to as Ham's sons were those who engaged in inward worship that had been corrupted. The people called Canaan's sons were those who engaged in external worship detached from internal. The people termed Sem's sons were people that worshipped the Lord and loved their neighbor, and their church closely resembled the genuine version of our Christian church. The present chapter does not specify what these people were like, since it merely lists them by name, but the prophets writing clarify it where the names of these nations come up, as they often do, and in each of these passages, the names have no other meaning than that mentioned here, although it sometimes applies in a positive sense and sometimes in a negative. Despite the fact that these were the actual names of the nation that made up the ancient church, they mean something on an inner level, specifically the types of worship themselves. The inhabitants of heaven have no idea what the names, the lands, the nations, and so on are. No concept of such thing exists there, only a concept of the entities. What is
Entities.
entities?
Entities.
Entities like objects, elements, essence.
entities they symbolize. The inner meaning gives the Lord's word life. The meanings like a soul, whose body is the superficial sense case, resembles that with human beings. When our body dies, when we join the angels, our soul comes alive, and when our soul lives, we no longer know anything of bodily affairs. By the same by the same token, we no longer know what the literal meaning of the word is, only what its soul is. The people of the early church were like this, and if they were alive today and read the word, they wouldn't become bogged down in the
Bogged. What is this?
Logged.
Bogged. It's like link. Bogged.
link. Bog,
Maybe we can see picture. Maybe bogged. It's like maybe car bogged in dirt. Yeah, do you see bogged? This car is bogged.
ah,
Like in, bogged. Yeah, this car is bogged too. Like
yeah,
okay,
sink
I'm
in
bogged.
the mud.
Yeah, bogged down in the literal
And the
meaning.
literal meaning. It would be as if they didn't see the letter, but only the inner meaning apart from the letter. In fact, it would be as if the letter didn't exist, so they would fasten onto the life or soul of the word. This is the situation throughout the world, including the historical parts, which report exactly what happened, but contain not even one letter word that does not unfold hidden meanings on the inner plane. These meanings are never seen by readers who who train who trains their attention on the historical context. Likewise, in the current chapter, in the literal sense of the narrative, the names mean the peoples that made up the ancient church, but in the inner sense, they mean the doctrinal concept of those people. Thank you.
Thank you. You said this current, like this current, yeah? Current.
Current.
Current. But you said current. Current.
Thanks for correcting me.
Okay, who wants to read next verse? Genesis 10:1. Nobody
read
wants to read? Yeah, go ahead.
Genesis 10:1. And these are the births of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and sons were born to them after the flood. These are the births of Noah's sons, symbolizes the doctrinal matters and types of worship that develop in the ancient church, which in general is Noah. Shem, Ham, and Japheth have been the same symbolism as before. Shem symbolizes true inner worship. Ham symbolizes inner worship, corrupted. And Japheth symbolizes outer worship corresponding to inner. And sons were born to them symbolizes the doctrinal matters that develop out of their worship. After the flood means from the time when this new religion came into existence. The symbolism of this are the births of Noah's sons as the doctrinal matters and types of worship that develop in the ancient church, which in general is Noah, can be seen from the symbolism of births discussed above. The superficial or literal meaning of births, of course, is the generating of one person from another. But on an inner level, everything focuses on heavenly and spiritual elements, or the properties of charity and faith. So the birds here have to do with aspects of religion and consequently with doctrinal affairs. This will be easier to see from what follows. Shem, Ham, and Japheth have the same symbolism as before. Shem symbolizes true inner worship. Ham symbolizes inner worship, corrupted. And Japheth symbolizes outer worship, corresponding to inner. This can be seen from the earlier statements above them. Those statements not only show that Shem, Ham, and Japheth symbolize these types of worship, but also explain what true inner worship means, what corrupted inner worship means, and what outer worship corresponding to inner means. This is no need then. There is no need then to dwell further on the symbolism. The symbolism of and sons were born to them as the doctrinal matters that develop out of their worship can be seen from the symbolism of sons on an inner level as religious truth and as religious falsity too, and accordingly as doctrinal matters. Doctrinal matters refers to both true ideas and false ones, since the doctrinal approaches of the churches reflect both kinds of ideas. For this symbolism of sons, see above and the meaning of after the flood as from the time when this new religion came into existence is again established by remarks made in previous chapters. Since the flood depicts the end of the earliest church and the beginning of the ancient church as well. Please keep in mind that the name of the church that preceded the flood is the early church, while that of the church following it is the ancient church.
Mhm. Genesis 10:2. Mhm. Okay, I think my time is over, and I have to go. And
Okay,
see you
see you.
tomorrow.
Have a
Yeah.
yeah.
Goodbye.
Have a good day. Bye. VV. V. V. TV. Are you still there?